For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to Strat News Global. I'm Nitin Gokhale. Energy security and future energy mix is one of the most difficult decisions that governments have to take the world over. And in India especially, it is one of the most difficult sectors to handle because of the energy needs of a growing economy like India. With me today to talk about what is the future of the energy mix, the energy security that India is looking for, and what is the current status of petroleum and natural gas is Hardeep Puri, Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, and of course, Housing and Urban Affairs. Welcome to this program.
Thank you.
In fact, while we've spoken earlier in your earlier avatars on civil aviation and urban affairs, petroleum and natural gases, of course, is your new responsibility after the recent reshuffle. Let's look at the bigger picture, if I may. India is a fast developing economy, a rapidly growing economy. I think we are the third largest consumers of petroleum and natural gas. How do you see the current status of this sector as far as India is concerned? What are the challenges and what is the prospect?
Thank you very much. You talked about my earlier avatars. I'm glad you stopped at the 2017 reinvention,
Sure.
which was joining the Council of Ministers as Minister for Housing and Urban Affairs. But there was an earlier
Of course.
existence for 40 years. I'm only referring to it for the limited purpose. I was saying that any country, no matter what its shape or size or wherever it finds itself positioned to in the global context, it obviously looks at foreign policy, security not only in terms of security as we understand it in the defense and national security perspective, but economic security is a very important component of that.
Absolutely.
And to fast forward to your interest today to talk about energy security.
Exactly.
I think energy security is a vital component. Clearly, what stares anyone in the face when you're looking at India and where India finds itself currently positioned is that the energy requirements of India can only grow in the coming decades. That is a given.
Absolutely.
Per capita, our energy consumption is still rather low by global standards. I used to make this point to you in my previous incarnation when I used to say that, civil aviation in India has to grow because only 7 out of every 100 Indians travel.
Correct.
And if you make air travel affordable, you will find that people would prefer to travel by air than by train. A second issue that I think is unique to India is that our energy requirements are growing, but our dependence on imports still is overwhelming. And I would put the figure, as is known in the public domain, at something like 85%.
Which is very high.
Of what we consume in terms of oil, gas, etc.
Sure.
You're dependent on imports.
Correct.
The third proposition I want to lay before you, in terms of sheer facts, in terms of numbers.
Right.
If we have a land area approximately of 3.5 million square kilometers, the land under exploration is only 7%, 7 to 8%. The fourth point I want to submit to you is that clearly, by virtue of the fact that we are spending, as the Prime Minister said in his address to the nation from the ramparts of the West Front, he wants that by the time we are 100 years old as an independent country, 2047, 25 years from now, We should be self-sufficient, which means you should be able to save the 12 lakh crores which we are currently spending
the
on
outgo.
the outgo on imports.
Yes.
By self-sufficient doesn't mean that you have to be 100% self-sufficient.
Right.
But we are also exporters.
Correct.
I mean, we import, we also export.
Yes.
We get crude from different sources, and so gas, all that.
Right.
But by and large, you can't have an 85% import dependence. Right? There is also simultaneously a global movement towards sustainability.
Exactly. Climate change is a big
Climate change, movement to cleaner fuels. And I want to recall for you that in the year 2006, January, I went to Brazil as ambassador. And Brazil, as you know, is in many ways blessed. It has 3 times our land area, 1/6 our population, and 23% of the world's freshwater reserves. And they were, and they still are, pioneers in biofuels.
Right.
You can, in Brazil, go to a petrol pump, and depending on the price of petrol on that particular day and the price of ethanol, if you have a flexi-fuel car engine, all you can decide you want 25% ethanol, 75% petrol, or the other way around.
Exactly.
Today, we look back at that period, we tried 5% ethanol biofuel blending in 15 states and union territories. We didn't get enough
Takers.
No, we had takers. We couldn't get enough fuel.
Okay.
Today, we are already doing 8-9%. And the Prime Minister by 2024 wants to take it to 20%. And we want to get there.
Right.
Similarly, gas, we want to take it in the mix, because you talked about mix, from 6% to 15%.
Okay.
So 20% biofuels, 15% gas, and so on and so forth.
Correct.
How do you do this? One, you take what you have clearly and you increase your efforts at exploration.
Okay.
So that, I think, is a given. We'll have to do that.
Yes. And you said the area under exploration is very limited.
8%, less than 8%, 7 to 8%. You also ensure that your own resources, which for whatever reason, policy constraints at home,
right.
It's true in coal also. It's true in other fields.
Exactly.
You try and overcome those constraints so that you can utilize your own resources for your growth.
Exactly.
You also try and procure at more efficient levels.
Exactly.
There are a number of steps that you can take, because there will be a transition from the fossil fuel toxicity emitting fuels to greener energy.
Exactly.
Now, every company worth its salt dealing with the energy sector anywhere in the world is changing to green. So Total will be called Total Green and so on.
Right.
So anyone I know who's in this business turns around and says, I'm becoming green. It's not just becoming green. You have to make sure if you're going down the route of green hydrogen.
Correct.
That is another important announcement that the Prime Minister made from the ramparts of the airport.
Yeah.
What does it mean? It means setting yourself an ambitious target. Now, don't confine yourself to a myopic view which says that you are going to be only looking at it for electricity. Electricity is only 17%. Your refineries, you must use green hydrogen. You must have an export target.
Exactly.
So all this is currently what is being done.
Right.
It is work in progress. It also constitutes the challenge.
Yes.
But you also have to use, because I know I can visualize a situation where every petrol bunk in the country will have electric charging stations.
Exactly.
But you will still, for a appreciable period of time, be using normal petrol and diesel.
Yeah, in a country like India, certainly. I mean, you can't really depend fully on electric vehicles.
Well, you will go to electric vehicles, you will go to other cleaner biofuels, etc. But still you will have, even if you mix 20%, you still have that. And I think over the years, you will progressively go through. Engine manufacturers have to keep pace. But I think the world experience shows that once you decide to do it, it becomes an imperative. And everybody adjusts to that imperative.
Yeah, true. But, coming back to the mix, right now, you said 85% nearly imports. What is it that, one, you increase the area of exploration that you're doing? All your oil companies, oil PSUs, how are they looking at new fields, new discoveries?
Well, all of them need to be encouraged within quotes.
Right.
There are people already in this. There are foreign players there. You have large domestic players. There are other people coming in. You also have to generate the confidence through an ecosystem that you welcome foreign participation, that in exploration, there have been people in the past.
Correct.
And that, you will have an overall approach which is encouraging that process. I don't anticipate any difficulties there.
Okay.
In the past, when we've tried to restrict the internal consumption, bring it up, your economy is growing.
Exactly.
We are today, Nitin, already at pre-COVID levels of consumption.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Not an ATF yet, aviation turbine fuel, but there are other reasons, because those are reasons which have something to do with the pandemic scare.
Right.
I mean, pre-COVID, we were doing 400,000 passengers a day. Today, we are doing about 200 plus.
Correct.
But come Dussehra, come Diwali, I see that going up also.
Exactly. So that will rise also. Aviation turbine.
Aviation turbine fuel will also rise.
Right.
Apart from normal consumption, which economic activity and transportation takes.
Exactly. So in that respect, one of the key questions everyone has been asking, I'm sure you've been asked this in Parliament also. Crude prices, of course, vary, but the petroleum prices haven't really come down.
Well, it's a question of what you mean by come down and come up.
Go up, yeah.
Let me...
Beyond 100 is what, the psychological mark.
Let me recall.
Okay.
The past history.
Right.
Of last 42 years. Okay. Let me start with 1973.
Oh, the OPEC shock.
No, so I'm starting with 73. Okay. OPEC shock is what you refer to, what the world... 1973, I got my first teaching job at Delhi University.
Yeah, of course.
Petrol price went up from 1.25 per liter to rupees 3 per liter.
Okay.
On a 400 rupees salary, I used to fill up my scooter for going to the university and all other activities which a 20-year-old or 21-year-old indulges in.
Yes.
And we thought that petrol महंगा हो गया. Between 73 and 79, the increase was from 1.25 liters to 3 rupees a liter.
Right.
Okay.
So almost double the...
No, in 7 years.
Yes.
In the next 7 years, from 1979 to 86, the increase was from rupees 3.6 to 8 rupees.
Okay.
Which was 122% increase. From 86 to 93, it went from 8 to 18. That was 125% increase.
Exactly.
Between 93 and 2000, it went from 18 to 28. That was a 55% increase. From 2000 to 2007, it went up from 28 to 48, that was a 70% increase. From 2007 to 14, it went up from 48 to 77. That was a 60% increase.
Huge jump, yes.
And between 2014 to 21, it has gone from 77 to 100, which is a 30% increase. So I submit to you two things.
Yeah.
The increase in petrol prices during Mr. Modi's government has been the lowest in the last 42 years. Okay. If you take the 7-year, 30%.
Right.
It's gone from 77 to 100. Now you can turn around and saying, but it's still high.
Yeah.
But let's then go into the reasons for that.
Correct, exactly. I think the dollar has appreciated. I mean,
dollar is one. Dollar is one. But there's another reason.
Okay.
In 2010, the Congress government deregulated.
Right. The petrol prices. And then 2014, they deregulated the diesel prices.
2014, we came in October, but work had already been done because of May. Once you deregulate prices, it means that you are dependent on world market prices.
Exactly. It's linked to the markets.
Okay. Now, the center imposes an excise.
Right.
State governments impose VAT.
Correct.
Sir, in April 2019, April 2020, sorry.
Okay. Just when COVID lockdown happened. Yeah.
Lockdown happened in March 25th, or thereabouts.
Right.
The price per barrel internationally was $19 and some barrel.
It had crashed.
So when it went up from $19 to $78, we still imposed only 32 rupees a litre as
excise.
excise. The state governments imposed VAT as a percentage.
Right.
Which means what? Which means if the global market price goes up, their percentage of VAT also goes up. Now I'll tell you what we do with that 32 rupees.
Right.
Maharashtra, for instance, imposes 26% VAT and rupees 10.12 litre additional tax on petrol.
Oh, and what is that additional tax?
The additional tax which is mop up on petrol.
Oh.
VAT to lay
Acha.
26%. So if the price goes up from $19 a barrel to 78, so they're getting 26% on 78 rupees,
yeah.
$78.
Right.
Now I come back to something very basic.
The 32% that you...
What the 32 rupees a litre,
Yeah.
slightly short of that we impose. What do we do with that 32 rupees? Under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, free food grains are being provided to 80 crore citizens. Been going on for a year. 30 to 70% hike in the minimum support price of all major crops since 2014, which have benefited crores of farmers. Over 10 crore farmer families have benefited under PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana with more than rupees 1.35 lakh crores transferred directly into their bank account. Over the last 7 years, length of national highways has gone up by 50% from 91.287 kilometers as of April 2014 to 1,37,625 kilometers. So an increase from 91,287 to 1,37,625 as of March kilometer. Highway construction per day in India has increased almost 3 times from 12 kilometers a day in 2014-15 to 33.7 kilometers in 2021.
Absolutely.
2.27 lakhs kilometer of rural roads sanctioned under Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana since fiscal year 2014-15. More than 11.39 lakh crore household toilets constructed. More than 6.03 lakh villages made ODF under so. During the pandemic, we gave 8 crore LPG connections under Ujjwala Yojana.
Correct. 8 crore is a big number.
Yeah, I'll tell you under the overall.
Right.
In 2014, Nitin, the total number of
Connections.
gas connections in India was 14 crores. Just before the last 1 crore we announced, it was 29 crores. And if you add 1 crore, it becomes 30 crores.
Yeah.
Jan Arogya Yojana, Ayushman Bharat,
Right.
urban infrastructure in the 10 years of the Congress-led UPA government, in 10 years from 2004 to 14, you spent 1,57,000 crores. Nitin, in the 7 years of the Modi government, rather 6, the Prime Minister assumed charge in May 2014.
Right.
The government came into being in June 2015.
Yes.
Something simple happened.
Right.
Something simple happened. You know what happened? The programs came into there in 6 years, entirely revised those schemes, and today we have spent over 6.5 times, 11 lakh crores. Kahan 1,57,000 crores, 11 lakh crores.
Correct. So all this money comes from there.
Well, obviously, it comes from there. Now, you can turn around and say, you can score a political point. That's why they don't go beyond a point. After a while, when I start pointing out, which is, how much VAT are you guys charging?
Right.
All right.
Yeah, it varies from state to state.
It's not a political point.
Yeah, it is not.
It's not just a Congress
Yes.
ruled state. Some of the BJP ruled states
they
also
do it. Yes.
But overall, I think what has happened is when I became Petroleum Minister, it was $75, $76. Recently, it had come down to 66.
Right.
I don't know whether this has got anything to do. It has nothing to do with who's the minister.
Yeah.
But that's global prices.
It's global prices.
No,
Yeah,
so you want economic activities to grow.
Right.
God forbid if there's a third wave, a future wave, then again,
Correct.
economic activity goes down, prices go down.
Absolutely.
But I think the programs that the Prime Minister has initiated, both short-term, medium-term, long-term, you're looking at energy security in a very comprehensive and mature manner.
Yes.
And prices are not only a short-term concern, but when I joined Delhi University as a lecturer, or I joined the IAS or Foreign Service, 400 rupees was the basic pay.
Exactly.
Okay?
I can.
Today it's 60,000.
Yes.
So even there,
the inflation has taken place.
No. I'm saying something. First of all, the inflationary, how much does this count? I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. We have to be sensitive.
Absolutely.
Democratic elected governments are sensitive. We are sensitive.
Yes.
And whatever we can do, we will do. I mean, that is the point.
That I get the point. That's a very minor point in this whole conversation, actually. But anyway, you've explained it beautifully. What I wanted to also look at is when we try and diversify our the sources from where we get our energy mix. What is the plan? I mean, you have...
you buy both spot and you buy long term. You're into long term.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't have much of a choice to exercise. Some countries are under sanction or whatever.
Right.
But it's a changing situation.
Okay.
You buy from wherever you get at reasonable prices because you also want to be ensure that you are buying at competitive. And there's another aspect which we didn't talk about.
Right.
There's something called reserves.
I was just coming to the strategic reserves. Strategic reserves.
You build strategic reserves. I think an International Energy Association guideline is that a country like India should have about 100 days.
Yes.
I think, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And I think we took some recent decisions also. We are inching in towards that.
Yeah. So you've got these new places here coming up and you're trying to beef that up.
Yeah.
But again, that strategic reserves will, of course, I'll have to go parallel. There are OPEC countries, there are non-OPEC countries. Are we also investing in oil fields abroad? Are we doing that?
Well, we had invested in Russia, for instance. We made some good investments, some were not so good.
Right.
But I'm too new as a minister. You see, oil is not going and buying something off the neighborhood shop's shelf or going to the petrol pump.
Yes.
When you talk about energy security, you're also talking about affordability, access, security, all part of you use the word complex matrix.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think as we go along, we made some very, very wise investments. Some have not paid off. Maybe I don't know enough about them.
Yeah, sure.
But you're constantly looking at these issues.
Correct.
Yeah.
No. So that is the important thing because India will remain one of the higher consumers. So I think in the top 3, there's no reason why India's consumption will go down. So what about domestic? You mentioned exploration. What about our own refineries and our own exploration companies, oil companies? Are they also looking at some new fields?
Oh, 100%. We have the small field policy. Right. We're doing very well on that.
Okay.
We're doing well. Refining capacity, we have enough just now.
Yeah. Okay.
I think 249 is against 214 we are using. So we will build refining capacity. We will put more area under exploration. Yeah.
There are areas in the northeast which are again
100%,
quite unexplored.
100% there.
And they'll be in the sea, of course.
Northeast has so much potential.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, when you're talking about biofuels, you're looking earlier, it was traditionally you looked at either sugar or the Americans looked at corn or maize. Now you're going into agricultural waste, you're even wanting to look at bamboo, you're looking at rice, husk, etc. So my favorite story is that when you were railway minister many years ago, they wanted the railway line to go through your district.
Today,
they wanted international airport in your district.
Yes.
And today everybody wants an ethanol plant. So that's a good sign.
Exactly. So ethanol is also looks like a big future bet.
Because just imagine instead of spending 12 lakh crores, you have enough agriculture on your soil and you're blessed with sunshine. And hopefully your water management will be there.
Yes.
Plus you have a coastline and irrigation, etc. So I think we're on the right track.
And the hydrocarbons that you mentioned, for that also you'll have a special program, I guess, what the PM has announced.
Exactly.
So final question, as a citizen, what should a common citizen look forward to say that there will never be energy shortage really in India? Because we have secured our future and our thing in quite... different ways, if I may say so. Even if the prices are not to the liking of the people, there's that breach of the psychological level, if I can say that.
No, I would be careful here.
Okay.
I don't think one should arbitrarily define levels.
Okay.
It's at the end of the day, it's an issue of management.
Exactly.
If you've got strategic reserves,
right.
Ideally, because it's not in normal situation where market forces operate. Clearly, I can tell you as a student of the situation, a newly appointed minister, if somebody raises their prices too much, people will shift to other
means,
more affordable means.
Right.
I mean, that is what happens.
Exactly.
I mean, if you find that petrol is too expensive, you will mean if you have an affordable public transport system.
Correct.
In any case, your good policy should be not to move cars around. It should be to move people around. And people will make those choices. That will happen. The problem is what happens in case of civil strife or a war.
Right.
That is where a strategic reserve comes into play more. But then you want to use your strategic reserves for other purposes
Yeah,
also.
exactly.
Governments will do whatever they have to.
They have to do, exactly.
Well, I can tell you that a good government, and ours is one, will always plan in such a manner that you are never driven to the point where you don't have access to energy.
Yeah, exactly.
So you multiply. So you're going into wind,
solar.
this thing. Each one has its challenges.
Absolutely.
And I think we are in the happy situation that we are able to use that mix. And I think we just need to step on the gas.
Absolutely. No, in fact, in that, your role as Urban Affairs Minister also comes in handy. You know, moving people around, you mentioned. You know,
The metro rail,
public transport,
That's
multi-mode transport. I think that's going to be the key.
That will be the key. Because I was in Bengaluru yesterday, where we introduced a 7.5 kilometer stretch.
Right.
Delhi, we introduced the first stretch in about 2002, in Vajpayee ji's government.
Correct.
Today in Delhi National Capital Region, we have 372 kilometers.
Exactly.
In Bengaluru, the idea is to take it up to finally 170 kilometers.
Okay.
So we've got overall, I think about 760 kilometers or so, or they're more than that.
Yes.
We have another 1,076 kilometers under construction.
Right.
You ask me, this is still just the beginning.
Oh. Okay.
Metro nahi hoga, to kam se kam Metro Light, Metro Neo, which are less expensive but serve the same purpose of moving people quickly in urban space. My favorite statistic is in 1947, 17% of India lived in urban spaces on a population base of 350 million.
Correct.
Today you are
1.25 billion.
No, 1.3 or what?
Yeah.
But you are planning, Nitin, for 600 million people to be living in urban spaces by 2030.
Correct.
And what will be your economy by then? $10 trillion. The $10 trillion economy, 600 million people living in urban spaces. I mean, look at the population of the whole of Europe and the United States put together and you don't get it.
Exactly. No. Hardeep Puri, as usual, very candid, very insightful. Thank you for your time and thank you for giving us the exact picture of
Thank you very much. Thank you.